We are getting breaking news out of Tel Aviv. I understand a fresh wave of missiles has been fired at Tel Aviv and air raid sirens have been sounding. Let's speak to Nour. She's in the Jordanian capital, Amman. Now, she's there because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting from inside Israel and the occupied West Bank. Nour, we know that there have been many barrages of missiles coming through the night, but we're now hearing that there's been fresh missiles just in the last few minutes or so.
That is right, Nastasia. Up to 10 missiles, according to local reports in Israel, have been launched from Iran to Israel. A few moments ago, the sirens went out in Amman, and just as we were coming up on air, they sounded in Amman another siren indicating that the missiles basically were not over Jordanian airspace anymore, but they're being sighted over the skies of the occupied West Bank and in Tel Aviv. We don't have indication if there is any impact yet, but we do know that as far as the Israeli medical and emergency services, they have not treated any injuries right now. We don't have any visual confirmation of where, if anywhere, these missiles have struck. But the space over which those alarms went off in Israel is quite extensive, and it stretches beyond the boundaries of the larger Tel Aviv district. So we're talking about the central area of Israel, and that extends right now also into the occupied West Bank, and that's why people can hear it and can see Israeli attempts of interception, Nastasia, over the skies of the occupied West Bank. There are batteries and radars in the illegal settlements and in military outposts in the occupied West Bank belonging to the Israeli army. They're fired there in an attempt to make sure that the missiles don't make it to Israeli cities, but that also puts at risk Palestinian communities that don't have shelters or any way of knowing if they are in harm's way.
Of course. Well, one of the things that Israel is very proud of is its Iron Dome air defense system. How has that been holding up around Tel Aviv under this almost constant barrage over the last few days of missiles from Iran?
Well, there's a multi-layered system of air defense, Nastasia, that Israel has, Iron Dome being one of them. But even all of those layers and the advanced warnings and the assistance in terms of defense that is being provided by the U.S. Army and others, the intelligence tip-offs and so on, nothing is entirely foolproof. The missiles do penetrate all of those layers of protection, and they do hit targets. We've seen entire buildings come crashing down in the central area of Israel. Up to 24 buildings, in fact, are now condemned for demolition because of those barrages. We've seen fires erupt as well, and we've seen some of those safe rooms in Israeli homes not hold up to the kind of pressure created from the explosions of these large ballistic missiles. Remember, Israel is used to the occasional firing of rockets from groups, from armed groups, militias, if you will, from Hamas in Gaza, from Hezbollah months ago in Lebanon. But this is a very different kind of confrontation. Israel started a war with Iran, a very large country, the 17th largest country in the world, in fact. It has a population of 90 million, a formidable army, and an arsenal of ballistic missiles. When they are fired, not all of them will be detected. And even if they are, we've seen that the Israeli defenses cannot intercept all of them at the same time. And so the impact it creates a lot of damage. I'm just looking at my phone to see if there are any new updates, because I see it shaking with that application that shows where the missiles, where the warnings are. But so far, we know, like I said, in the occupied West Bank's illegal settlements, the alarms have gone off, as well as in coastal areas in Israel.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Nour. You've been obviously keeping a very close eye on all of these strikes for the last few days. A lot of them have been taking place at night, and we've seen lots of pictures of these missiles coming through the night sky. and some in the early morning. We're now seeing these strikes, these ones that have just taken place in the middle of the day. Should we regard this as an escalation?
Well, it certainly is a conflict that doesn't really have a routine that we can count on. In the beginning, as you said, at least the first 2 days, it was almost the routine. Israel attacks by day and night, and Iran responds by night. And we've seen a bit of variation. Today, we saw 30 drones between the overnight hours and the morning hours. We saw 30 missiles launched in the morning hours during the daylight, and now this new barrage. So yes, there is a difference in the routine, accompanied by a difference in the tone that we're hearing in response to these Israeli strikes. Every day there's something new that happens, Nastasia. Yesterday, Israel attacked the Iran radio, state radio and television station while the journalists were inside the building, while there was live broadcast. That was a new threshold, if you will, of the violence in the conflict. And so the response was quite different. And you had this claim of a responsibility from Iran that they targeted in the morning barrage an intelligence complex in Herzliya. So there is an escalation that goes a bit in a correspondence. There is no parity, if you will, because the kind of damage and the scope of strikes that we're seeing from Israel in Iran is quite extensive. But in response, the qualitative edge, if you will, of these ballistic missiles, Iran is trying to show off that it can reach precise locations that it considers of high value. So we'll have to wait and see where these missiles were aiming to hit, and if they, in fact, actually reached their target.
Nour Odeh there, keeping an eye on things for us from Amman and Jordan. Thank you, Nour. And just to flag there, the Israeli military has now instructed citizens, we believe, that they are permitted to leave protected areas, signaling that the threat from the Iranian attack, this one that has just taken place, is over. We'll be keeping a very close eye on things in Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Nour.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel, get the latest news from Al Jazeera.